by the river.
Doesn't do anything well. There is not one.
I'm sorry. There was no creativity.
As a Union fan, I'd take that all day.
Another DP. We need to go get Mario Balotelli.
And that is right. Welcome everyone to today's special edition of DOOP By The River podcast. I want to welcome everyone in, whether you're watching live on El Parcelo Phillies YouTube channel or here on Twitter. Thanks so much for tuning on in. As a quick reminder, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we will be broadcasting live your typical episodes here of DOOP By The River. We have a special guest here. I've been waiting for this one for a while, ladies and gentlemen. If you are on Union Twitter, I'm sure you have seen this man's tweets, and we're blessed to we're going to get his thoughts here today on all things blue and gold. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, from Philadelphia Soccer Now, please welcome Evan Cohen. Evan, what's up, brother? Welcome on in, man. How you feeling?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. Late night last night, of course.
Yeah,
but...
dude. How'd you wake up this morning, man?
Oh, very recently. I'll say that.
Gotta sleep a little bit of that one.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Evan, like I said, dude, we're really thankful to have you on here, man. I've been watching you on Twitter. Your tweets are extremely informative. I typically agree with most of your thoughts and opinions as well. You honestly tweet like a full-time content creator. I don't know what your future holds, but man, you do have a future in that for sure, man. So I want to get a little bit to know about Evan for people who don't know you specifically or personally. Dude, just tell us a little about yourself, man, and a little bit of your love of the Union. How did that come about?
Absolutely. So, I mean, like a lot of people my age, I was growing up. The team started kind of right when I was growing up. So I started playing sports as a kid. I started playing soccer at 5-6 years old. The next year, the Union were playing games at home. So I was lucky enough to go just as I was getting into it. And I had this like unique perspective where as the team grew and got better, I was growing up. And now fast forward to, 10 years in post-COVID, and now I can drive and I'm going every single week, not just what I can give someone to take me. So like growing up alongside the team it connected me so much more than the Eagles or the Phillies or any of these teams that, like they've been around for decades, if not longer. But being there, like I was at the first game at the Link.
Nice.
Don't remember the whole thing, but I was there. Right. So
there's pictures
kind of having that unique thing. Yeah, exactly.
Evan, I want to talk about this as well, like kind of like the generational perception of soccer in the United States as well. But I feel like my story aligns a lot like yours. I wasn't blessed to have people take me at a younger age. When the Union started was 2010, so I was like 15 years old. So I was like in high school, like wasn't able to drive yet, but only resource to watch the Union was TV. PHL, or I think back then we were on Comcast Sportsnet, but that was like my only way of watching the Union, being in love with the Union. It's not like what it is today, which is definitely special. But I feel like we're not too far apart in age, but like there is a change in the Phillies sports fan. There is now like, watching the Phillies during the day, you watching the Union at night. Like there is that insertion there of the Union within conversations of Philadelphia sports. There, man. Like for you, like how has like soccer changed since you first fell in love with the Union till now? Like whether it be Prem or watching some other league or the Union or just in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a huge soccer fan. I've been watching the Premier League since I was a kid and got more and more into it growing up. But I mean, it was like for me personally, I watch every Philly sport I was as a kid, and the Union was just different. Like something about it just drew me in, and it was the sport I was playing at the time growing up. So there was that aspect, but it's a different experience. And I mean, it was almost like unique because everyone I went to school with was going to Eagles games every year and all this stuff. But it was like my thing. Like I had my own unique kind of thing to look forward to every weekend. And so with the growth of the sport in this country at the exact same time, like it just went hand in hand.
Yeah, man. So I gotta ask you because, like, in most of my friend groups, I'm the Union guy. So people like to text me like, "Yo, what's going on with the Union? Yo, Messi." Are you the Union guy in your friend group?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I get texts when Messi signed. I got texts from my friends who barely watch soccer, like asking me about it. Is he actually going to play? All these things.
Yeah, so I had to send out the group chat because I wanted to get ahead of it. So I was like, guys, listen, if the Union are in a tournament, I'm not explaining this tournament. If the Union are in a tournament and if they win 2 more games, then we'll probably see Messi in the final, but just keep an eye out for it. But Yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's always fun being the Union friend in the group of
Mhm.
friends there, man. Let's move forward to this team, Evan. It's been like a bumpy road. It's been like up and downs.
Yeah.
The lows have been low, the highs have been high. Has your confidence changed at all from last year to this year? I mean, last year seemed much more smooth than this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've always felt like I was the most negative person, like especially with this team. Like I was always thought we'd find a way to lose a game or disappoint, however. And this year, it's been like a complete switch from that. I feel like everyone's, especially in the early part of the season when we were really struggling, and everyone was talking about how we needed to change this and that. And I'm like, give them time, give them a few weeks. Like between all the games that were happening and kind of getting everyone used to the new formation, like I for some reason this year have had no doubts, even if the record isn't the same and the point tally is not as high. I mean, we found our stride in what, July last year, August. So I'm gonna refrain from making any negative judgments if everyone can stay healthy right now.
Yeah, man, for sure. It is interesting because every year is different. I think the East in general has changed a little bit in the landscape as well. I think
Absolutely.
that has something to do with it as well. And I mean, who knows? We'll see what Miami does. Everyone thinks Miami's going to make this miraculous run into the playoffs. We'll see about that as well. But I agree with you, Evan, and I think that this team is also like playoff tested. Like they've been through so many tournaments, whether it be U.S. Open Cup, Champions League, now Leagues Cup as well. I always think like that is always huge, especially for when we come playoff time as well. And I don't want to compare us to the Sixers a little bit because you know how that is. But you got to wait for the playoffs. And I hate saying that, but I think with this team, we just got to wait for the playoffs because we know what their potential is. But it's a different game come playoff time, Evan.
Yeah.
So Evan, are you now the official president of the Ty Barribo fan club here? Is that what I'm getting?
I might need to be. I'm way more excited about that move than I think a lot of people. I mean, I'm a slight fan of the Israeli national team, so I've been following his progress for 2 years now. So I won't say I watch him every week, but it's a name I've known, and it's a name that I'm excited to see get better. And the fact that out of nowhere he was linked to us, I was ecstatic. I look at the path, and the Austrian league. I trust Ernst. I know he's got the connections there. I really don't think he would ever gamble with that kind of money for a player entering his prime. Like that's not the kind of move we make if we're not really confident. It reminds me exactly of how the Gazdag move was. Came out of nowhere from a league we're not very familiar with for what at the time was a good amount of money. And I see how that turned out. I see the track record, and he was a direct replacement for Ercan Kara, who came to MLS, and he hasn't been incredible, but he's been, I would say, a solid, serviceable player.
MLS
has scored plenty of goals. So seeing that he was the handpicked replacement for a player who came here and did fine, mixed with Ernst, like I really like the move. I think it's pretty low risk, and I think the upside could be, he's one of these front three players for the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's hard to go against Ernst's track record, especially outside the MLS. I mean, MLS market's been hit or miss, right? But outside the MLS, so more hits than misses for sure. And I think that's where I definitely lean to as well. And it's interesting because like I did read up a little bit, and from my understanding, is Israel going through like a golden era, golden age of soccer over there right now?
Yeah, I mean a bit. I'll admit I'm not the biggest follower of everything, but if you know Eli Lesser on Twitter, he's much more into it, and he keeps me up to date a little bit. But they've never been quite at the level to compete in Europe. Been a penalty shootout away from the Euros, close to a World Cup, but now with the expanded World Cup, they're a team that I think is only getting better, has a lot of good young talent. So they're a team that's only going to be more and more relevant. And so getting a player I believe he's now got 2 starts for the national team, a couple of sub appearances, just scored his first goal. Like he's breaking into that team. He's he's entering his prime. He's 25, I believe. I'm thrilled with it.
Yeah. I mean that age is pretty prime right there. But I think you nailed it too. We're not having him coming in here trying to score like 30 goals a season.
Exactly.
For right now, it just adds some depth because I mean I'm sure. I mean, how do you feel about Chris Donovan? I feel like now it's like 50-50 with this.
Oh my! Yeah. I mean, it's all fun. Like I've had the pleasure of speaking to him a few times. He's like the nicest guy on the planet.
Great dude.
But I mean, I kind of started as I was like, I always my friends and I we always pick like a niche player that doesn't play just to channel all of our fandom into. You see, Kyle with Jesus Bueno before he saw a minute.
That's not another player anymore, man.
I own a Stuart Finley jersey. I can't say I have too much room to talk, like all these things. But Donovan, I mean, I see it. I've seen I see what they see in him, and he's only gotten better and better and better. But a local kid, nice guy. Like I'm rooting for him, even if I don't know if he's got the quality yet. And I look from earlier in the season when we were, struggling for depth, and he was all over the place. He was missing chances left and right, and he was playing a lot of minutes and all these things. And from then to now, he looks like a totally different player.
Honestly, the only thing that draws me back with Donovan is just the finishing in the final third. And I don't know if it's just more like confidence. Right. And I think that's why, like, I feel like if that's it, I mean, he's got everything else. And I could see why they wanted to keep him on his depth, because sometimes when I do watch him on a press, like, it does remind me a little bit of Corey Burke. I mean, he's not fast like Corey Burke, but like you could see that work rate out there. So, yeah, we'll definitely see. Maybe with Ty Baribo in there, it pushes the competition as well. But I definitely felt like that was one position where they definitely needed to address. Quinn Sullivan, it's just, I don't know what it is. What do you think with Quinn? What do you think we would do? And what should we do with Quinn?
So, I mean, it's interesting. I think his best position's on the wing, and it's unfortunate that we don't play with even like a kind of winger. It's just not something we do. I think if Quinn came along 3-4 years ago, when we had Fafa and those kind of speedy wingers we were trying to make work, he would have been lighting it up. But I think he's one of the best talents we've ever had. I don't doubt that. It's unfortunate that he doesn't really work in this team as well as he could have. He's too good going forward to sit back in the midfield. He's never going to get minutes at the 10, barring Gazleg's health. And I mean, he's solid up top, but he's just not. It's not his natural spot. But I mean, he's shown flashes the last couple of weeks. Even he's clearly got the talent. I was following the U20 World Cup. Like, he's clearly got the talent, and he's clearly ready now. He just needs to kind of if he can adjust to whatever room there is, which it seems like he can. He'll get enough minutes to show himself to Europe. And I think like Paxton, I think he's not going to need to become a week in, week out starter. I think he'll get his move regardless.
I do agree. I mean, we've seen some cracking goals even wearing the Union uniform as well. So the talent is definitely there. You mentioned him, man. He's an under 20 player. He's so young and trying to adjust, playing with a bunch of men out there. Like it is definitely tough. But I just did not feel too confident going forward with the forward depth. And that's why I like Baribo. And the thing about Baribo, which I thought we would go more of a veteran aspect, maybe go like within the league, find a veteran guy, knows how to score goals. If anyone listens to DOOP By The River, Justin and I have been pleading for Kai Kamara. But I do like this one because not only does this fix the depth issue this year, but going forward, Carranza, that door's knocking, right?
Yeah.
Who knows what happens? You got Baribo in here who we can fill that in right after if Carranza does go for sure. So you knock out two birds with one stone with that one, man.
Absolutely.
Let's look at last night, Evan. So were you in the match last night? Were you at Super Park?
Yeah, I was there. I was there last night.
Dude, so were you going on Monday as well?
So actually I was on my way. I had stopped at 4 stores to find ponchos. Everywhere was sold out. It was like a whole thing.
No.
I was one exit away from the Commodore Barry Bridge. I was, I think, 6 minutes away, according to my GPS.
Are you Jersey or PA side?
I'm PA, but I was coming up from Jersey.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was quite a drive. I was about 5-6 minutes away. Got the call. So scrambled to get off work for Tuesday. Made it work.
Nice, dude. Oh my God, that was definitely a crazy night. I'm keeping an eye out too, because obviously for the Phillies as well. So it was definitely a crazy night. And the funny part is, like, I think Paul Catrino put the tweet up there of Kai Wagner. Kai's like, wait, we're canceling.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, that was the crazy part about it. So we had that first off. We had that to kind of go by. But what were your takeaways from last night's match, man? Curious to hear what you had to think.
Yeah, honestly, I was much happier with it than I think the scoreline showed or a lot of people thought. The first 5 minutes were horrible, obviously, in the first honestly, the first 15 or 20 were sloppy, but
Right.
even those 20 minutes were equal to how they played Thursday, at worst, and clearly, like, it's one of those games where it's just not a style like, it's always ugly. The styles are never gonna work well against each other. So, we were showing our quality. I thought we looked good on the ball for the first bit, but it was just a little bit lazy, a little bit slow. And then, I don't know, 25, 30 minutes in, they really they stepped on it a bit, started to look like the team that we all know they are. And I mean, I was watching the game back, some of the game back this morning, and honestly, I'm shocked we didn't have 3 or 4 by the time we finally got that goal. Like, the second half was really solid. Obviously, things to clean up, but better performance than the 1-1.
I think Ure shut some people up in that second half. You saw that
He was
difference.
fantastic. Yeah. He was running right at us at that end, and you could just see him. Like, they were the two Red Bull center backs were screaming at each other every time he'd get through because they couldn't keep up. They couldn't keep track of him. I thought the only player last night, maybe outside of Flock, who just wasn't good was Carranza. And I love him, but I he looked lost. He looked all over the place. And when he did get his chances, which is I mean, if he plays poorly but finishes his chances, I'm fine. But when he did get his two, maybe three good chances, he didn't even get a shot away on any of them.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
yeah, it was really refreshing to see someone come in and actually, the beauty of having, if we have now 3, 4 good strikers, giving a team a different look if something's not working, putting fresh legs with speed. I think Curtin said he's the fastest guy on the team, from what he's seen. So,
Holy crap.
that kind of change, it clearly worked.
Right. Right. And that's one thing that we've kind of been looking for this year because like in years past, whether it be, Elsinho winning 1v1,
Yeah,
Anthony Fontana knocking crazy goals from the back, Corey Burke coming in for 30 minutes, just tiring back lines. We had some different type of dynamic coming off the bench and not really had that this year.
absolutely.
We kind of expected that Joaquin, he hasn't really fit in my opinion, with this squad as well. But
Yeah,
that's really what you get with Ure coming out there, and you really did see that. And we'll see what Gazag's injury is. I think I saw what Joe said to be determined still. For
yeah. It didn't look as bad as I think I initially
right,
thought. It was right in front of where I was, and I mean, take it as you will, but he seemed like he was smiling to some extent, like he was more frustrated about it, more so than really upset or really concerned.
yeah. When you see
I
the,
don't
the
want to
fist pounding on
speculate.
the ground, that's when
Yeah,
you're ugh.
I think it was more frustration about
Right.
probably not being able to finish a 1-1, or that was 1-0 game at the time. Like, he was probably going to be our best chance of getting back in that game, surviving in this tournament, and I think he knew that. So I think it was hopefully more frustration about that than genuine concern.
Absolutely. And I agree. Like anytime you play Red Bull, man, it's always like this. It's low scoring, typically
Always.
ends in a draw. Rarely do we destroy them. But Jim's comments after the match, man, that was the spice I needed this morning
Oh
for
yeah,
my coffee, bro. Oh my god.
absolutely.
If you're a Red Bull like fan player, I mean, if you're a Red Bull fan, you kind of have to agree with Jim. But if you're a Red Bull player,
Oh
man,
yeah.
come September 3rd, you're coming out there with a little extra fire out there, man. But it is true, dude. Like like when we were growing up during like the 2010 to 2018, dude, it was
Oh
so
yeah.
annoying. Like I hated Red Bull because of that so much.
Oh yeah.
Since then, dude, we've been dominating this, and Jim's right.
I mean, I say this. I said this to a lot of people at the game yesterday. Like, I don't care what happens with NYC. I don't like them, and we play them in the Eastern Conference final, and it's becoming a little bit more natural for rivalry. But I will forever hate Red Bull, 10 times more because I just grew up. They were the Dallas Cowboys of my childhood. Like, I hate
Literally,
Dallas. I hate Red Bull. They were on the same tier for me. Like, I couldn't even say the words as a kid. Like, it doesn't matter how many times we beat them. In fact, I'll take it. Like, it's fun. For both teams, that is, I guess.
right.
But I mean, we were growing up, I guess, and oh my god, they beat us every single time. We'd go there and we'd give up 4, and they'd beat us 1-0 at home, and I feel like that happened like 4 or 5 years in a row, and
Seeing Seb on that
just so to be
ugly
able
pit, man.
to be able to have that now. And I think I remember that there was like a game 2014-15 where I was like, this is finally the one where we get a result there. And I think that was the time we gave up a goal 7 seconds in or something. Like it was just always so brutal. Knocked us out of the Open Cup, I think,
Right.
somewhere in that stretch. Like it's just nice to have it go the other way around.
It's been so lopsided, like from 2010 to 2018 and now 2018 to 2023. It is absolutely wild, and we'll see where these two clubs do go. But you know, it's funny, Evan. Like I feel like we took what Red Bull did, like building within with the homegrowns. You know, they don't spend a lot of money. The defense emphasis as well with the high press, and we mastered it, man. We mastered it,
Absolutely.
made it our own, and we're successful with it. We got to an MLS Cup, which I think they like did once in their history.
Yeah.
Red Bull, but dude, like we took what they built and made it into our own, man.
Absolutely.
And that's the best part about it, man. Oh man, what a and then of course Jesus Bueno continues his legacy here, his legendary status he's growing here. Kyle spotted it from day one, man. We so I love Kyle, man. He spotted that from day. Does he have a kid too? Does he have the shirt?
Yes, he does. He's got one with his name and one with Bueno.
Let's go.
Kyle and I have been, I mean, we've seen it for a while. We just started going to Union 2 games this year, but we were watching them the last couple of years, and he was always standout on both sides of the ball. And I remember Kyle and I actually went to an open training about this time last year. I think it was in that stretch of the 6-0 games. Okay. So when we were flying, and we're watching like 11v11, and Bueno maybe scored 5 times in as many minutes. Like and this is when he wasn't getting minutes at all. He was all over the field. He was winning the ball back in the middle. He was scoring from every spot. Like he just looked like the best player on the field. So we've been calling it for a while. I'll give him the credit, but
and the work he put in, because he comes here as a 19-year-old kid,
absolutely,
captain in Deportivo Lara in Venezuela. Comes here, has to work his ass off for these last 2 years. You got El Brujo being one of the best sixes in the league. Leon Flock looked really good at the 6 this year. And then I said it earlier in the year, when Bueno was getting those minutes, like, yo, Bueno kind of looks better than Leon Flock at the 6. And you saw Bueno also beat out Pereira, which allowed him to get loaned out to NYCFC. And this is where we're at now, where he's getting more consistent minutes.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things that I really like about our midfield. We can have 2, 3, 4 guys out there depending on the formation, and I don't think we have any like for like swaps, for better or for worse. We've got 4 or 5 guys for those spots, and every single one of them adds something different. So, you know, having Flock, I think Bueno's been out playing Flock and will probably get those minutes, but in no world are they the same player. So the fact that like Flock clearly was out there because of Red Bull, because of the way Red Bull play in the middle, so we could hopefully have a little bit more control in the middle of the field, and it wasn't in an effort to have more numbers going forward. It was more of a, you know, don't let them do the one thing they can do well. So the fact that we can look at an opponent, pick 2 guys from a group of 4 or 5, put them out there, and as long as everyone's fresh and healthy, you know, match a team, or, you know, adjust, I guess.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. One other thing as well from last night. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't understand like why people think like stopping penalty kicks is like an easy art to do. It's really not. But Andre has been getting criticism for it for whatever reason it may be. Dude, he had some big saves. Did get some help from the crossbar. But dude, like, he is one of the best, if not the best, at PKs in this league.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like in shootouts he's always there for us. I think Nashville a couple years ago.
Yeah, remember that?
Even, I mean, I hate to bring it up, but even the final, he saved the first penalty. I know most of us have blocked out those 15 minutes from our lives, but the first one he fully guessed right and saved. And I believe on the other 2, he guessed the right way on both. He got a hand in the last one. Like he definitely has a knack for it. There was a stretch between the last 2-ish years where from open play, he just hadn't, like, we were giving up just about every penalty. Yeah. I think he saved 1 last year, but that's better than most keepers, and he's coming up when it matters now. And I mean, I played keeper a little bit growing up. I won't say I'm an expert, but I treat a miss as a save. If you're in a position where the ball doesn't go in the net, your presence, whatever you said, did. Even if you made the guy overthink it, like
Yeah.
I'll give Jared the credit for the 2 that missed in DC. I'll give him credit for the one that hit the bar.
Yeah. Absolutely,
He's
man.
the reason we're here.
And now he's going to be the goalkeeper of the U.S. Men's National. So it's all. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding.
I wouldn't mind it, but
you would.
I would not be upset.
Absolutely, man. All right. Well, here's the thing. So next match, we played these guys. We destroyed them. Quitaron. But typically, that doesn't always mean that the next match is going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
I always think that it is tougher. And I always look back to, it's a little bit different situation, but I look back at 2020 when we we beat New England, felt like 20,000 times. And then playoff time, you saw what happened. So for you, where's your confidence level heading into to Friday?
Yeah, so normally I would fully agree with you. With a lot of these teams, it's the same reason I think Red Bull and DC can have, not the best season, not the best roster, but every time we play them, it's just awful and ugly and they're familiar. But this is a little different to me. First of all, I couldn't watch the entire 5-1 game. I kind of had it on my phone as I was out and about. But from what I did see,
me, Evan, you're literally just like me.
Oh yeah, I got off a flight about 20 minutes before kickoff, so I was scrambling, trying to get it on my phone at baggage claim, all that stuff. But from what I did see, we were all over them, and between that and the stats, it looks like it could have been a lot more than 5. And I look at the way the rest of this tournament's gone, and a team that really won't have any sort of fan presence there.
Yeah.
No offense to them, but they had 3-4 people spotted a couple weeks ago. So I'm not worried about the home field advantage. A Friday night, I think the atmosphere should be good.
Yeah.
And I look at the way MLS vs. Liga MX has gone in this tournament, and that's the things that MLS teams struggle with in playing teams from their conference that I can't remember where I heard this, but I was listening to a podcast in the last 2 days that was talking about this exact thing. And it's MLS teams, they see each other 2-3 times a year. They know what to expect. It's the same players they've seen for years. So it's a little bit harder. But then you get these teams that aren't used to it, these Liga MX teams who, first of all, for whether it's fair or not, haven't been home in over a month at this point.
Yeah.
Living out of 5 different hotels, not at their best. And they haven't seen this before. So it's going to work a lot better. And so, if it was a more well-built team that like a Club America team that we may have grazed by or something coming back, I'd be really worried. Okay. We were 10 times the team they were 2 weeks ago. So,
and we saw the shenanigans last night as well.
Easiest of the 3 games. Yeah, exactly.
Before we close this out, man, I want to get your thoughts on this tournament. There's been mixed emotions. The soccer has obviously been good. I don't think anyone could argue that. But going forward, what are your thoughts? Do you need this tournament next year?
It's interesting. So I've absolutely loved this, and I said I was nervous when it first came out, all the news about it, how it was going to work. But I wrote a few pieces right before it started about I'm excited. You don't have to be, but here's why I'm excited. And I was looking at just the simple things of it. I love March Madness as a sports fan, and it looked similar to me. It's a game at 7, 8, 9, and 10 every weeknight. I get off work at 10, so coming home and being able to catch live MLS on a Tuesday is awesome.
Nice.
Stuff like that. So I was it's nonstop, basically knockout soccer, 3-team groups. You got to win every game. So I like it. I think they've made sure that teams don't, play their reserves and not take it seriously, which I was worried about. I think they've done a really good job making the players care, making the teams care. It definitely needs some fixing. I don't know how I feel about a team losing and then needing to fill a month with friendlies or whatever. But overall, I've been more than impressed so far, taking the messy stuff out of it. I think it's here to stay.
Okay. Well, we shall see. We'll see how this ends as well. We'll see if the Union can hoist that trophy. But Evan, dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. We've been waiting for this one, and we're really thankful. Plug away. Where can people find your articles? Where can people find you on Twitter? They need that Twitter handle for sure.
Absolutely. It's SOB_Evan on Twitter. Fair warning, there's plenty of stuff on there that's not worth your time, but you know, I just try to I just say what comes to mind and people tend to like it. Philadelphia Soccer Now as one of the best sites for Union coverage among all the others. I'm on there covering various things in the area.
Joe still over
As
there?
are
Joe Lister?
Yeah, as are Joe and many other talented people who I have
Yeah,
learned a lot from in just the 3-4 months I've been doing this.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, guys, make sure to keep an eye out for those articles. Make sure to follow on Twitter as well, the good and the bad. That's going to do it for today's episode of DOOP by the River. Thanks again to Evan, and thank you for you guys, and we'll see you guys.